Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Classic X-Men number 16, cover dated December 1987. Now this is the back cover by John Bolton because my concern in this review video is the backup story, and the image here features a red-headed man flying above a cliff with a blonde woman, and the police are there looking up at him. Now, which X-Man do we know has ginger hair? Well, of course, it's Sean Cassidy, aka Banshee, and this is going to be the story of his first meeting with his future wife, Maeve Rourke. Pretty nice image here by John Bolton. There is just one aspect of the drawing that kind of amused me when I was looking at it again in preparation for the video. It sort of looks like Banshee maybe about to drop the woman over the side of the cliff there. That smile on his face is a little bit ambivalent. Let's take a look at the front cover, because this issue of Classic X-Men features a reprint of Uncanny X-Men 109. So we have Vindicator there on the cover with Wolverine by Arthur Adams and inked by Terry Austin. Let's go to the inside cover for the credits. And for the backup story, the author is of course Chris Claremont. The artist, penciler and inker John Bolton. Letters are by Tom Orzechowski and colors by Glynis Oliver. So let's get to that backup story, and let's see it now coming up here after this page. There we go. So we've got a really nice splash page to open the story, and the title of the story is Dearest Friend, and the setting is Ireland, a country I'm familiar with because I am Irish and I'm living here right now and always have. And so I'm sensitive to representations of Ireland in art and literature. And this is pretty hokey stuff in these narrative captions. The Emerald Isle, fabled in song and story, whose matchless beauty has been too often scarred by the fires of hatred, the stain of innocent blood. A passionate country whose people like to think themselves as wild and indomitable as the land itself. Well, I can tell you, dear viewer, that I don't like to think of myself as wild and indomitable as the land of Ireland itself. Like I said, this is pretty cliched, but it's funny how it is that if you're reading a description of a place, for example, if I'm reading Claremont writing about the Siberia, Peter Rasputin's homeland, I'm not 100% critical, or I'm not in the know concerning any little mistakes he might make. But when it comes to Ireland, I'm very much aware of any mistakes, and here they come now. 60 odd years ago, the island was split by treaty into the Irish Republic and Ulster. We call that partition. The 5 counties of the north. There are 6 counties in Northern Ireland, and there are 9 counties in total in the province of Ulster, which is towards the north of the island. It's the northern part of the island. And then the narrative caption continues, which remained part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It wasn't a happy outcome to centuries of almost constant rebellion, and over the decades that followed, those who favoured union with the South. So that's a phrasing that Irish nationalists would reject. It would be more a case of not union with the South, but rather the ending of partition and the reuniting of the 6 northern counties with the South, which we call the Republic, continued to battle the Ulster majority, who preferred to stay part of Britain. And another little detail would be that majority was pretty thin by about the point that this issue was published. And as usual, caught in the middle are the forces of law and order, the police. Now, in this era, the police in Northern Ireland were the Royal Ulster Constabulary, and they were known for being biased in their policing, particularly against Irish nationalists in the north, who this fine September night along the narrow lanes that crisscrossed the borderlands appeared to have their work cut out for them. So pretty cool image, getting back to the art of this rider on the motorcycle. And of course we can see there that the rider's wearing a mask, so we infer that maybe they were up to something that was on the outlaw side of activities. Meanwhile, up the road a bit, we've got a big anchor image there of a young man with light ginger hair, and he is being checked out by the police. Got a name, asked the sergeant. Sean Cassidy. So this is young Sean Cassidy, who would become Banshee of the X-Men, like my ID says. He replies, and the gruff sergeant comes back with, watch your mouth, tough guy. Strike an attitude with me, you'll pay for it, and papers can be faked. These say you're from County Mayo. That's the Republic. You're a long way off your track, boyo. And Banshee, or rather Sean, says there was a concert up the Derry. So you can see there's a little apostrophe there, and that's an indication that something's been dropped out from the phrasing. And the gruff sergeant comes back with Londonderry to you. So this is another little detail of Irish political history, where in Northern Ireland, the official formal Northern Irish name for the city of Derry is Londonderry, and as you just heard me call it, in the Republic we refer to the city as Derry, not Londonderry, and regard the use of the term London as, I suppose, colonial. So Sean comes back and says, yeah, well, I missed the last train and decided to hitch home. Where's the harm in that? Likely story, says the skeptical sergeant. It's the truth, he says. So the police officer says the boy is clean. Too bloody clean, you ask me, says the sergeant. I'll give you truth, you young tearaway. I think you've been scouting these lanes and laybys for your terrorist pals, looking for the best paths to smuggle guns across the border and maybe set up an ambush. So Sean denies it, and the sergeant says, why don't I believe you? Cuff him, Sandy. We'll sweat the lad all good and proper back at the station. In no time at all, he'll be telling us whatever we want to hear. And Sandy there, for like Alice Sand, is more of a Protestant name. That wouldn't be an Irish Catholic name at all. So some of these names and other markers are identify on which side of the political question of Northern Ireland, the 6 counties, these characters fall. So the police officer here spots the motorcyclist, and so the motorcyclist swerves right in them, knocking them off the road into a ditch, and Sean jumps on the back of the motorcycle. Hold on tight, you fall off, it won't turn back for you. Sean says, I'll manage, you know that, sergeant. And the rider replies, pig has a rep as big as his belly, the kind of sod figures God wouldn't have given him fists if they weren't meant to be used. There we get a close-up on his face. You'll not escape me that easily, boyo, he yells. We're far from quits, you and I. And then he sees these police cars that are trailing the motorcyclist, pursuit cars. Whoever that biker is, the force must want her pretty badly, he says. Get behind the wheel, Sandy, and floor the gas. Nobody in Ireland would use that expression, floor the gas. We call it petrol. But in any case, the devil take that biker, the boy is mine. So now we've got a chase. It's a mad, merry chase, declares the third-person narration. Sometimes on paved roads, more often down lanes better suited to horse and cart, what we would call boreens. And when the police begin to close the gap between them, the biker strikes out cross-country. The police follow. So this is very cool, like the way that Bolton has indicated the action by having the front wheel of the motorcycle break the panel border there as well. The car slides off onto its side. One of the other police cars stays upright and continues following them across the fields. Unit 1's out of it. Thank heaven the lads look okay. Keep after that lunatic Charlie, says the passenger. I'll radio base for reinforcements and a wrecker. So this is interesting. I like this little detail. I wonder, is it random or is it deliberate that the speaker here, who is in the passenger seat, because in Ireland and in the UK we drive on the left. So the driver's seat is there on the right-hand side of the car, different from the US and other parts of the world. So that speech balloon is going to the passenger, speaking to the driver, Charlie, there. So that's pretty well done. Of course, John Bolton would be, tuned into that. And I think that detail is because it can be credited to him. Another action page here. So the chase continues. The motorcyclist, who now Banshee recognises as female, drives into a ditch in order to lose the squad cars. McClanahan here, who's the sergeant, is determined to get them. They're taking the coast road, and the driver says, "Sarge, if that's the coast and we've crossed the border, we're in the Republic, out of our jurisdiction." And McClanahan says, "To blazes with the rules, to nail that pair, I'll chase him through the gates of Hades itself." So this guy really is not relaxed at all. He's totally off his rocker. Look at him there, pulling a pistol and shooting at them in the Republic of Ireland. This is banana stuff. This is crazy. This is wild. "Hold the car steady, Sandy," he says. "All I want's a decent single shot." So he shoots out the back tire. The implication is maybe he was shooting to kill. The motorcyclist says, "We're hit, my tire can't hold the bike, going too fast, slewing out of control off the cliff." So they're over the edge of the road. "It's 100 feet to the rocks below," declares the narrative caption. "Seemingly certain death." This is a great panel here. So when Detective Sergeant Damien McClanahan hears the scream, he grins broadly, triumphantly. That moment of terror before the inescapable end is meat and drink to him. But then, as the keening cry swells into an ear-splitting roar like a jet engine shrieking at full power, the smile fades away. Great lettering here by Tom Orzechowski with the Banshee scream covering over the panel borders as they plummet towards the Atlantic Ocean below. And the moment of primal unreasoning fear is suddenly his, as at the last instant, let's turn the page, we're going to get our cover image really, he watches Sean Cassidy pull out of the dive and soar away. So of course, with the back cover we have some artistic license where the helmet is off there, identifying the motorcyclist as female, an attractive blonde. A quick flight straight out across Donegal Bay brings them to a weathered ancient fortress. This is in County Mayo, so on the Atlantic coast, that towers with indomitable defiance above an Atlantic headland. The sudden silence as the young man touches down is as deafening in its own way as the scream that brought them there. So will the woman be all frightened and a kind of damsel in distress? No, of course not, because she's a Claremont woman, and so she's furious with Cassidy the Knit. "Wonderful, abso-bloody-lutely marvellous," she yells. "I do a bod," nobody says that in Ireland, "I do a bod a simple kindness by saving him from that brute McClanahan and end up losing the best bike I ever owned in the process." So Banshee is, he's hit by lightning. A girl, she's beautiful. So love at first sight. But if she's going to yell at me, I'll yell back. How do you think I feel when I save a person's life and the only thanks I get is a punch and an ear full of grief? So that gets her quieted. "Aye, that's a fair point," she says. "I suppose I was too scared then, too angry to think straight, had to vent it on someone. You got elected. I wasn't hallucinating. We flew, you and I. We were falling when I heard this Banshee noise. And we were zooming along through the sky. Who, what are you?" But Banshee's concerned about her welfare. It's a bit chilly out there. Wouldn't you rather discuss things inside, say, over some cocoa and a snack? I like the acting detail here as he's taking off his jacket. That's really well done by Bolton. And she says there, "After that ride, I prefer something stronger. You and me both. I'll see what's about." So I like the suit of armor too, like these details of the interior furnishings of Cassidy Keep. But here in the modern kitchen, there's a big freezer there, a big kind of American style freezer. They wouldn't have been too common in Ireland in the 1970s when this story is set. "Actually, I'm famished," he says. "Screaming always gives me a royal appetite." So I like that little detail. She's impressed with the home. "It's seen better days," he says. "I hadn't realised such old places still existed," she replies. "Land and keep have been in my family for as long as we've lived in these parts," says Banshee. "Farther back, I'm told, and there are records." So she says, "Ah, you're gentry then, lords of the manor." And in comes a surprising figure. "We possess the title, the honours, the bills and the debts. Proud and noble the Lords Cassidy may be, but also perpetually broke. Sean, dear idiot cousin, there's a time and place to flaunt your special gift. Here at 3 past midnight, isn't it? Even to impress so lovely a guest. Care to introduce us? Never mind. I'm Tom Cassidy at your service. So this is Black Tom Cassidy with his budding black beard there. And now we get the motorcyclist's name, Maeve Rourke. So that's a name that readers would be familiar with as Banshee's deceased wife. Pleased to meet you both. And we learned how she died in an IRA bomb in Northern Ireland in issue 101 of Uncanny X-Men. But this is how they first met. Fate. Later, back across the border. Banshee is feeling jealous. Cursed Tom, Lucky Tom, Black Tom, with his Oxford manners and the devil's charm. I always feel like such a country lump compared to him. One look at him and Maeve probably forgot I even existed. Be easy to back off and leave him a clear field. Wouldn't be the first time. Why fight a battle that's lost before I start? And yet, something about Maeve. See what I said? Like romance and fate. Safe and sound, he says to her, your university residence hall, as I promised. So that's got to be maybe National University of Ireland, Galway. That's my guess. Incredible, she says. The flying, the screams, a part of me, Maeve, that comes as naturally as breathing. I don't use it much in public, scares the old folks. They think it's a banshee scream, like you did, and me, some demon come to life. But she's not afraid, she says hardly. You must be some form of evolutionary mutation. Can't say for certain though, my field's history, not science. So he apologises about the bicycle, and she says, me too, but the coppers won't shed any tears. Their border roads will be quiet till I get a new one. On the other hand, I'm glad I met you. Now that's interesting. Why was she being chased by the police? Why was she over the border in Northern Ireland? Was she the one that was scoping things out for the IRA? Interesting that, yes. So Sean here isn't really twigged into the fact that she is studying history and that she might be part of the IRA. Instead, he's charmed by her. Are you really? Because I'd like to see you again. Silly goose, that's a real Claremontian phrase. You've but to ask. Kiss, first meeting. Well done, Sean. Very brave. And he did as often, as successfully as his older cousin. So there's the twist. He's got competition and it's his cousin. So how is this all going to pan out? And as the seasons turn, the three of them become well nigh inseparable. Another Claremontian phrase, well nigh. The two men vying as hard as they can for the love of the lady. Through it all, Maeve seems honestly torn, liking them both, uncertain to whom to pledge her heart. So there's something of like chivalric romance about this. You know, they live in a medieval castle. They're gentry in terms of their family ancestry. And both of them are interested in this woman. And it seems they're playing fair so far in their courting her. Then in spring, I'm to escort her to the university ball. Look at the flares that Sean is wearing there. It's early 70s, remember. That has to be a sign she cares most for me, he thinks to himself as he straightens his tie in the mirror. But is it? Dare I ask her straight out? Suppose she says no? Or resents my putting her on the spot? Or thinks me the proper twit for having to ask such a question when the answer to her is perfectly obvious? And this next panel and his thoughts and the expression on his face is absolutely pure Claremont. He thinks to himself, in heaven's name, why must love be such an infernal muddle? Who knows? If it were easy, it wouldn't be such fun. That's classic Claremont. You know, love, romance, sex. It's fun. It's adventure. It's not something to be maudlin or morbid about or afraid of. It's an adventure. And yeah, as I said, that's Claremont kind of appealing also to older teenage readers in their early 20s at college also. He knew he had that readership at the time, and this is more so for them and something that would chime with them rather than a 10-year-old reader of the X-Men comics, more interested in action than these character studies. So Sean is on the motorcycle now. Silly as it sounds, she means so much to me. If she's happy, then I am as well, even if her happiness comes from choosing Tom. Okay, so he's very chivalric indeed in that regard. The car comes without lights, so fast out of the shadows, Sean being so wrapped up in his own thoughts. that he never realizes his danger until it's on him. So it's McClanahan again, and he has been biding his time. I warned you, Chummo, someday, somehow we'd meet again and I'd get even. So he runs him off the road there, doesn't check on him, and Sean arrives home badly injured. There's Black Tom sitting up late reading the newspaper, and he also is thinking about his love puzzle. I've never known anyone quite like Maeve. I'm blessed, though, if I understand what she sees in Sean, he thinks to himself, and I don't care. I love her, and I'll do anything to win her. Now, you know, we're familiar with Black Tom as an adult and that he's a villain. So if he's prepared to do anything, is he prepared also to break the rules of chivalry, chivalrous courting? You know, all's fair in love and war and so on and so forth. But then he sees his cousin come in, injured, badly injured. And Black Tom calls out for the housekeeper, and they put Sean to bed, waiting for the doctor's arrival. So Sean says, Tom, Maeve's waiting, she'll be wondering where I am. And he says, I'll phone. No, exclaims Sean. Evening special, shouldn't be ruined for her. Go in my place, explain, tell her not to worry. Interesting choice here to have the characters mostly in silhouette, except for some light from the bedside lamp, rim lighting there. Go in my place, explain, tell her not to worry. Are you positive that's what you want? Asks Black Tom. Please, he says. And so Black Tom arrives in his tuxedo. The other college students there are admiring him because he looks so suave. And Maeve is all dressed up for the ball. But she was expecting Sean. Tom, I know Sean isn't coming, he says. Now, this is intriguing too. We get to see the art here on the glossy stock of the back cover, because for some reason they've run out of pages and they're not reproducing the cover to Uncanny X-Men 109, which is usually what they do on the inside back cover. So we get to see in sharp detail all of the line work of John Bolton's inking there. It's really excellent. And also what happens to Glynis Oliver's colours when we move from newsprint to glossy stock as well. So the colours are much brighter too. It's a wonderful night, declares the third person narration. Tom's never been more happy. On the dance floor, this is typical Claremont as well, on the dance floor they move as one with supernal grace, and yet she smiles at him, and yet her eyes flash with joy, and yet finally it becomes more than he can stand. Does it matter so much that it's me with you and not him? And she replies, interesting choice that we don't see her face, we see his face and his expressions and emotions. Of course not, she says. I care for you fully as much as for him. That's a lie, he says. You're here, Tom, he isn't. And now this is the moment of moral truth. All I need do is keep silent, he thinks to himself, and I've won. She'll be mine. But she's in such pain because she cares so deeply for him and thinks he's betrayed her. It's more than I can bear. And then he says aloud, and you can see the expression on his face, Sean was on his way here, Maeve. He was run off the road. He'll be all right, I think, but he asked me to come and explain why he couldn't be here. I thought by keeping silent I could turn your heart from him to me, but I reckoned without my own heart. Even though you'll probably hate me for it, I find I cannot lie to you, even about this. And then you can see the look on her face as well. You know, she's uplifted concerning her ideas regarding Sean. It's clear that she's the one she prefers. As she turns to go, he calls after her, do you hate me, Maeve, for what I've done? And to his surprise, she smiles. For being true, for caring for me more than yourself, no matter the cost. Oh, Tom, she says, how could I ever hate the man who's proved himself my dearest friend? And that gives us the title of the story. Very, very interesting stuff concerning what would happen in the future, where when she's killed in that IRA bomb, she's been pregnant with and given birth to Teresa, Banshee's daughter, with her. And Banshee isn't aware of the fact that he has a daughter because he's working undercover with Interpol and is cut off from his family communications wise. And Black Tom searches the rubble, finds Banshee's daughter and raises her in Cassidy Keep without letting Sean know that he's got a daughter and that she survived the bombing. So all of that can be floating around between the panels here, but we see a younger Black Tom Cassidy who made a moral decision that was difficult for him in favor of his cousin and the true love between Sean and Maeve. There you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on the backup story to Classic X-Men number 16. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.